I arrived at the scene on a cold spring morning in 1922, the kind of day where the world seemed to stand still. It was a remote farmstead in Bavaria, Germany, called Hinterkaifeck. The owners, the Gruber family, hadn't been seen for days, and there was a growing unease in the nearby village. No one expected what we would find inside that lonely house, tucked away in the woods. The Gruber family consisted of 6 members: Andreas Gruber, his wife Cecilia, their widowed daughter Victoria, her 2 young children, Cecilia and Joseph, and the family maid, Maria Baumgartner, who had only just started working there. I dismounted from my horse, my breath visible in the chilly morning air, and joined the team of local investigators already on site. The farm felt off, too quiet. The barn doors creaked ominously as we opened them, revealing the unimaginable horror within. 4 bodies lay neatly stacked under hay. Andreas, his wife, Victoria, and the little Cecilia. Their faces were battered beyond recognition, caked with dried blood, as if they had been slaughtered like animals. I knelt down to inspect the scene closer. Their injuries were brutal, inflicted with what appeared to be a pickaxe or a similar farming tool. Blood was splattered everywhere, but something about the scene felt deliberate, as though the killer had arranged the bodies, almost with a sense of dark pride. As we moved into the farmhouse, the air grew even colder. Inside, we found the maid Maria murdered in her room, her body crumpled on the floor, and in the crib beside her, Joseph, the youngest of the Gruber family, his tiny body also brutally slain. Who could have done this, and why? I set to work, examining every corner of the house. At first glance, there were no signs of robbery. Nothing valuable had been taken, but there were eerie signs that the killer or killers had stayed for several days after the murders. Food had been eaten. Someone had stoked the fireplace. Livestock had been fed. It felt as if the farmhouse had become the killer's own twisted sanctuary. We began interviewing locals, trying to gather information about the Grubers. One thing stood out. Andreas Gruber was not a well-liked man. He was harsh, secretive, and some even claimed he had an incestuous relationship with his daughter Victoria, who was rumored to have had the youngest child, Joseph, through this illicit union. Was the motive revenge, jealousy, or something darker? The investigation took a strange turn when we discovered a disturbing detail. Several days before the murders, Andreas had told neighbors about hearing strange noises in the attic, as if someone was walking above the family's heads at night. No one had thought much of it at the time, but now, the idea that the killer could have been living in the house for days, stalking the family, sent shivers down my spine. We searched the attic and found disturbing signs. Disturbed hay, as if someone had been sleeping there. But no clear evidence, no prints, no obvious clues. The killer had vanished, leaving behind only the carnage. Days turned into weeks, and the case grew colder. We followed every lead, questioned every possible suspect, but nothing fit. The brutality of the murders, combined with the eerie fact that the killer had stayed at the farm afterward, haunted me. It was as though the killer had become a ghost, slipping through our fingers, leaving nothing but fear in their wake. Despite a massive investigation and public interest, the Hinterkaifeck murders remain unsolved to this day. The Grubers lie in their graves, their story a chilling reminder of how evil can lurk in the most unexpected places. And as I reflect on the case all these years later, I still can't shake the feeling that somewhere in the shadowed corners of Bavaria, the murderer lived out the rest of their days, their dark secret forever buried beneath the silence of Hinterkaifeck. The name of the killer we'll never know. All main suspects, Lorenz Schlittenbauer, rumored to be Joseph's father, had a relationship with Victoria Gabriel and unlocked the house as if he had the key all along. He disturbed the dead, whispered chilling details, and years later spoke of the frozen ground that thwarted the killer's burial, knowledge he should never have possessed. Adolf Gump, a killer in war, was named in a dying breath. His brother Anton was jailed, but the case crumbled, leaving the truth to rot in the shadows. Carl Gabriel was declared dead in 1914, but no body was ever found. His wife, Victoria, bore a son whispered to be her father's. Then, years later, an eerie rumor spread. A Soviet officer, speaking perfect German, claimed to be the Hinterkaifeck murderer. Could Gabriel have returned from the dead to exact his revenge?